Good afternoon and welcome to Scrapbooking with a Twist. I'm going to do a clue layout today. I have not been able to participate in this fun hop that they're doing over on Ginger's Corner until now, and it's kind of late in the month, but I'm going to try to get 3 in. That was what our kind of minimum was if we were going to participate in the hop. So I'm going to try to get that done. So I have my dice. I have my paper to write things, and I have my rules for the clue game over here. So let's roll and see what we're doing. I rolled a 2. So a 2 is Colonel Mustard. All right. And then, let's see, a 1, excuse me, is the revolver. And then another 1 is the ballroom. Then we go to this page. We roll again. Let's see, here's Colonel Mustard. So we roll again, and we got a 4. So Colonel Mustard, number 4, is yellow ribbon, string, or twine. Yellow ribbon, string, or twine. Okay, and then under the revolver, where's the revolver? Right up here. We have a 5. Number 5 under the revolver is, let's see, make sure I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. Number 5 is a car or vehicle page. All right. And then under the ballroom, we have a 6. So 6 under the ballroom is use a person embellishment. All right, I'm going to go see if I can find pictures that can possibly go with this and the embellishment, and I'll be back. Well, good evening again, and I'm back. I was going to go grab the things I needed and some pictures to do the clue game, and I ended up with a grandson to spend the night, and so here it is the next day, and I'm finally getting back to it. So if you recall, I rolled Colonel Mustard, and under Colonel Mustard, I rolled yellow ribbon, string, or twine. I rolled the revolver, and it had to be a car or vehicle page, and I rolled the ballroom, and I had to have a person embellishment. So I am going to do a layout about telling one of our little vehicles that my grandsons used to ride all the time goodbye. If you're familiar with Cars, the movies, there's 2 or 3 Cars movies, and Tow Mater is one of the main characters, and he was this little rust rattletrap tow truck that was just the faithful friend of the little main race car. And my brother and sister-in-law bought my boys, my 6 well, there were only 3 grandsons at the time, bought them a Tow Mater, a little battery-operated vehicle that they could ride. And oh my goodness, they loved it. There's no telling how many miles went on Tow Mater. And then the other 3, I mean, and it was about the time they started walking. And then, of course, the other 3 were born. And you can see, this is the next to the youngest. He's like just, he's the next to the youngest. He's like about 5 months older than the youngest. And this is the youngest right here. And so you can see how long we've had Tow Mater. These boys are 12, and we got him when they were maybe a year and a half old, barely walking. And so that's how long we kept Tow Mater. Tow Mater had his handlebars duct taped together and back on. His battery cables had long ago stopped working. His seat was broken, and they would just sit on it and push each other. Tow Mater had more miles than any car ought to get. So this is definitely a vehicle layout. And then I had to use a person embellishment. So I'm going to use this little guy that I made for a swap one time. And there's my actual vehicle. There's Tow Mater, if you don't know Tow Mater. And then I had to use yellow ribbon or twine. And so I'm just going to stick a little bow on there that's out of some yellow twine. So this is going to be so picture heavy that it's just, there's not going to be much space left, because I had a bunch of pictures and I really did not want to go into a 2-page layout, because I need to keep my books a little less. I got to get a couple of years in a book. And so I'm trying not to make too many 2-page layouts like holidays and things like that, of course. But so I'm really trying hard. So I'm going to try to get my embellishments down, and then I'm going to start working in the pictures. And that's not normally the way I work. I usually work in the pictures and then get the embellishments down, but it ain't going to work that way tonight. So I'm going to go ahead. Here's my, this is my journaling, but I just told, and it was really, you can see this grandson. I mean, he's really pretty upset over putting Tow Mater out on the curb. And if we put anything out on the curb, someone picks it up and it goes to a new home. We live out in the country, but our road is real busy, and someone will pick it up. And then he kept saying, well, Gummy, he doesn't take up much room. Can't you just keep him in your garage? It was really, and this is another one they have ridden ever since they were, look how his knees are sticking up, forever. But this one was still in good shape, so I kept it just in case. I don't know if I'll live long enough to have great grandkids, but I kept that one anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and get these embellishments down. And I'm going to put them about where they are, and then I'm going to work pictures around them. And the twist is quick tonight, so let me go ahead and do it. I always say that, and then sometimes it's not as quick as I think it's going to be. But the twist tonight comes from Daniel chapter 1, just the first part of verse 8. And it says, but Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine. And in the second part of that verse, it says that he asked the chief officer that was over all of these young captives that had been brought to Babylon from Israel, if he didn't want to eat the food, because the king had brought all of these prime young men as captives to Babylon, and he was going to have them taught the language. He was going to feed them the best food, and they were going to have physical training and and the best education, because he took the cream of the crop and he wanted to use them to help his country, be even better. And so Daniel asks this chief officer if he cannot eat the royal food, because the royal food would have been considered unclean to Daniel and to his people. And of course, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were a part of this too. And because it had been offered to these foreign gods as sacrifices. And then as it was, offered to them as a sacrifice, then the king, because it was prime meat, then it was brought for the king's table. And so he was going to feed these young men that he had brought as captives, that he wanted to be, literally to help him and his country. He was going to feed them this, what he considered the finest food. And Daniel said, I can't eat that, because it's been offered to these foreign gods that we don't believe in. And so that would be considered unclean to us. And so Daniel had this resolve, this determination, this to be faithful. His world had crashed. His world was, as far as he knew, his world would never be his world again. And it wasn't. He was in Babylon for 70 years till he was an old man. And we don't know that he ever went back to Israel. He probably stayed there. But he was determined to stay faithful to what he knew God wanted him to do. So there were other times that this same faithfulness will show up with Daniel. For example, there was an edict sent out, a law by the king saying that you could not pray to anybody but the king for a certain amount of time. Daniel just continued to pray the way he always did. He didn't hide and pray. He just continued to pray the way he always did, which was in his window facing Jerusalem. And sure enough, the people that were trying to trap him because they didn't like him, the king, he was very important to the king, told on him, got him in trouble, and he got put in the lion's den. But he had the resolve that he was not going to not pray to his God the way he always had, regardless of what the law was, what the edict was. So Daniel had this resolve to be faithful. God, in return, was very faithful to him. When Daniel was given permission to not eat the food, sure enough, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were the chief officer in charge of them said, I'll let you try it. He really liked Daniel, and he said, I'll let you try it, but if you start losing weight or if you start looking bad, it'll be my neck on the chopping block, and you're going to have to eat the way the king has said. Sure enough, Daniel and his buddies were healthier and stronger and smarter and better than any of the others. So God was faithful. God was faithful when he got thrown in the lion's den for praying to him. He was literally in the lion's den with him and protected him and closed the lions' mouths. So the fact that scripture says, but Daniel, I've always thought, man, I wish I had the resolve so that when things happened, when the group you're with wants to go to the R-rated movie, or the group you're with is talking about someone and gossiping about someone, or whatever the situation is, that when the story's told, it would be, but Carolyn didn't do that. Because I feel like that's the way this story is describing Daniel. No matter what the thing was that he felt like was against God, but Daniel didn't do that. I want him to say, but Carolyn, but Susie, but Debbie, but somebody didn't do that. So I love that part of that story. Okay, I've got the embellishments on here. Now it's time to start putting the Jillian pictures on here. So here we are out on the curb, actually putting them out there. But they took another day, we just had a playtime. And I had all 6 of them, which I don't usually have all 6 of them at one time. But I had all 6, and, there were 4 here, and then we had the other 2 for a while, to have the last playtime. And we got out the wagon. We got out, of course, Tomater, and took turns on him. We got out my little garden carts. I'll show you one of them in a minute. That's one. They're both on garden carts. I have the smaller one and the next bigger one, and they were on those. This is an old Tonka truck that I haven't thrown away yet, but it's rusty. It needs to be thrown away too. So I don't know whether it's still in the, it's in the, I've got a sand, what do you call them? A sand thing that they played in. And I'm about, with the railroad ties and everything, and I'm about ready to take those railroad ties up and get rid of the sandbox. And they've outgrown that stuff, and it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. I did ink the edges of this. I kind of wanted to grunge this up a little bit, and I probably should have done some grungy things around behind these pictures, but I didn't want it to be too bad because Tomater's just a rust bucket. He's just a rust bucket. So when I did my title on the Cricut, and I just did the 2 layers. I really inked it messy, you know, to put it on there. I inked the little road and a few things, so I just kind of wanted it a little grungy. Okay, let's see. Get Samuel up here. I glued that down pretty good. I don't know if I need to maybe raise that just a little to get him under the corner of. That'll work. Oops. And we've got a couple more pictures. And I've already done this layout once because I needed to do it for both families. So I've already done this layout once. Let's see. The pictures, some of the pictures are a little different because like this one is for my son's boys. So I've featured him and him a little more. See, here's Cannon 3 times. There's Hunter 3 times. Where in the one for my daughter's boys, I had some pictures that featured them just a little bit more. So I think that's about as good as it's going to get. So let's just glue them down. Where do I even want to start? I guess we can just start up here at the top. You know what? You don't have to watch me glue them down. That's how they're going to be. I am going to, I'm just going to put this little bow that I made out of the yellow twine, I think, just right over here on this little sign. But that's how I'm going to leave them. So I'm just going to, I'll glue them down off camera. So all I really did, this is Paper Loft, and it was the Roundabout collection. And I think you can probably see it has a little bit of a pattern. It reads like a solid, but it has a little bit of a pattern in the background. And then I just used some scraps for my title and some of the same scraps as the background for this little road that I have a die cut and this little sign that I have the die cut for. This, like I told you, was a swap item that I made. This I just cut out of a little piece of paper, boys paper that I had out of from a paper pad I've had a long, long time. So here are my boys. We're saying goodbye to Tow Mater. We've entered a new stage in our life. We're into video games and that kind of stuff right now. And so heartbreaking, but they do grow. Before I sign off on this video, I want to roll the dice for the next video and see what we come up with. So let's see what our 3 things are going to be. Number 4 is, oops, got to go to this page. Number 4 is Professor Plum. And then we go to, let's see, the next one. Number 3 is The Rope. And number 2 is The Billiard Room. So let's go over here and under Professor Plum, where are you, Professor Plum? We have a 2, which is Purple Flowers. Great. You know me and scrapbooking purple with my boys. So Purple Flowers. And then The Rope. Number 1, an Easter page. Well, that won't be too bad. I can put Purple Flowers on an Easter page. And then The Billiard Room is right up here. Number 4. Where's number 4? The Billiard Room. 1, 2, 3, 4. Use striped paper. Okay, so for our next one, it is Purple Flowers, an Easter page, and striped paper. So we will see how that goes. Now I can sign off on tonight's video. So thanks for watching. I hope you got a little bit out of the twist today. And have a blessed day and be a blessing to someone else.